Hi everyone, a very good evening to everyone who's joined in today. Welcome to this webinar, Are You Chained to the Chair? A webinar for doctors on financial planning for the second innings. This is brought to you by my financial advisor. We will allow a couple of minutes for the doctors to log in. We'll wait for about 5 minutes. So we will start at 7:35. Please bear with us and welcome once again. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, Are You Chained to the Chair? This is a webinar we have created specially for doctors, and we are focusing on financial planning for their second innings. This webinar is brought to you by my financial advisor. I am Chanda Verma. I am the VP and financial coach at my financial advisor. Let me just stop this screen share. Yeah. Yeah. So I have been with my financial advisor for last 8 years. I have a total work experience of about 15 years in the financial services industry, working with multinational brands like GE Money and HSBC Bank. We also have with us Meena Shriram today. She is the expert panelist. Meena, hi. Good
Hi,
evening.
Shilpa. Good evening to all the participants who have joined us so far.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Meena is actually she is the associate director with my financial advisor, and she is the one who actually started the doctor's vertical for financial planning about 15 years back. She has a total work experience of more than 25 years in the financial services industry. So how we're going to take this is I'm going to take you through most of the content of this webinar, and then Meena will join in for the question and answer session. So let me quickly spend 1 minute to introduce to you my firm. So my financial advisor is the only firm in
Thanks, Chanda.
sorry, which has a specialized service for doctors. So we have been helping for last 15 years doctors in the area of financial planning and financial literacy. Now Meena and I think have met more than 2,000 to 3,000 doctors. And in a way, I think we have grown with them. We've been a part of their journey. We've been a part of their challenges, their insecurities, their passion, their happiness, what makes them tick, what ticks them off. And we've evolved with them. We are a very niche firm. We do quality work, and we have forged relationships with our doctor clients which spans across generations. We have an online portal, so we are present online, but at the same time, we have an office in Villeparle in Mumbai, and we have recently opened an office in the US. But all this would not have been possible if it wasn't for the book, Financial Planning for Doctors, which was penned down by our founder, Mr. Amar Pandey. And just give me few seconds. I'm going to share my screen right now with you to show you an image of this book. That is the book. It was published by CNBC TV 18. We've sold more than 75,000 copies of this book. Quite honestly, when we started off, we thought that doctors can never be our clients. We had written them off because they just did not have the time or the inclination to understand what we were talking about financial planning. They were used to all the lingo that was already being used by the private companies and the MNC banks. But we use a very different language. And when the doctors started reading this book, they realized that we are talking about a different process of financial planning, not about just having some investments and doing random surplus investments. And slowly, one doctor after another, from word of mouth, we started growing. And today we have about 300 doctors as a part of our close-knit MFA family. We also have been associated with many of these associations for financial literacy. We are the financial literacy partners for Indian Orthopedic Association. We have done seminars and webinars for IOA-CON, for Indian Society of Cardiology. We've also represented, the doctor practice at VIROC, which is a conference for the Mumbai Orthopedic Society. We have been present at the Urologist Conference, which is UCCon, at ASPA, which is Pediatrics Conference, and many other hospitals we have had talks. So coming to our core area. So I have met so many doctors, Meena has met so many doctors, and we always ask this question, why a special practice for doctors? Why are we so different? Am I from Mars? And I say, yes, this community is really very different, and for three main reasons. One is that a doctor's career starts really late. By the time you finish your education, your post-graduation, you're almost in your 30 to 35 years age bracket. And by the time your career really takes off, you're almost 40, 45 years of age. By this time, any other corporate executive is probably in his midlife crisis because he's had a 15-year head start over you. Secondly, and I think most doctors have told us this, Chanda, I am a glorified daily wage earner. The day I see my patients, the day I operate is the day I earn. Especially in conditions like pandemic, where doctors' income have been affected because they're not able to work to their full capacity, their incomes have got impacted, and that is where they feel this pinch. And third, and most importantly, doctors don't have a retirement security like an EPF or gratuity like most other people have. Now, this is a very important point, and our entire talk is going to revolve around this point. Now, we know that doctors, you don't like the word retirement. You don't want to retire because you're so passionate about it. But it is an eventuality. at some point of time in your life, whatever that point of time in life may be, you will tend to slow down, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. And that is where we bring a very different kind of thinking for your retirement planning to you. Now, I know in the audience, there would be doctors who are at different stages in their life. There would be some who are 30 years of age, some are in 40, 50, or 60 years of age. I'm quickly going to list down what we have seen as financial priorities at these different life stages. For those of you who are in 40 to 50 years of age, you are in the growing phase. That's what we call, you're in the growing phase of your career. You're establishing yourself as a specialist. Your income starts rising, but your lifestyle expenses also rise. This is the point in time when you may be taking loans either for your house or setting up your practice. And here the main focus or the main priority is you want to start saving for your kids' higher education. If you're someone in the age group 50 to 60 years of age, I'm sure you're going to be able to relate to this. This is your best earning years. You establish your specialty, you're building your goodwill, your savings potential increases and is at maximum. But again, the financial priority here revolves around children's higher education or career goals and saving for children's wedding. And if you are someone who's in the age group 60 plus years, we call this as the preservation stage, because at this stage, you don't have another 30 years to undo if there has been any financial mistake which affects your capital. So it's very important over here that doctors think about, how do I preserve my capital? Here the doctors also, we see they want to continue working because there is no age limit. But also the thought starts coming in their mind, do I have enough to call it a day at some time? Also for doctors whose kids probably are abroad or whose kids are not in the field of medicine, then they do have questions like, what about my practice, my hospital, my clinic? What should I do? Do I have any options rather than just shutting it? Based on these financial priorities, we help doctors focus on certain financial planning points, which I'm going to take it one by one. So if you are in the age group 40 to 50 years, you're in the growing phase, right? Now, here we have help doctors where we tell them to create your personal finance needs to be separate from your hospital or clinic. So this is particularly for doctors who have their own hospital or clinic. So what we see is doctors invest back in their practice. They're so passionate for them. It's not two different things. They're the same entity. But that is where the segregation is important. Now, we had a case where there was a gynecologist doctor who had a 3-storied hospital in the suburbs, and he would keep putting all his earnings back in his hospital. But when there was a financial crisis, the 100 crore hospital could not come to his rescue. And therefore, we always say that whatever you earn, always pay back some amount to yourself every month or every year and invest this money in your name and create a personal kitty for yourself besides creating a kitty for your practice. Also, as your income is increasing in this phase, keep increasing your savings and investment at least by 10% every year. Also, this is a phase where their expenses are high. So try and limit your EMIs, your obligations to not more than 50 to 60% of your net income. Now, the fourth point, doctors, is very, very important. For your life insurance, all you need is a term cover policy. Please go back and check if out of all your insurance policies, do you have a term policy? Now, we have seen that doctors are easy targets, in the name of pension, in the name of child's education, or in the name of the fact that you will get a good lump sum at the end of 10 or 15 years when you're closer to your retirement. Many insurance policies are sold to the doctors, and however, they don't give them enough life cover which they actually need, and the premiums are also very high. What you really need is a plain vanilla term cover policy, which can cover you up to 2, 3, 5, 10 crores, 10 crores, because this is the amount that would be needed if anything were to happen to you so that your family is taken care of. Now, these policies give you a high cover, but at a very low premium amount, a few thousands here and there. And that is a huge saving for you and the right policy to take for you. So please do bear that in mind. And last but not the least, do diversify in assets other than property. Now, we have again seen that doctors have an affinity towards real estate because somewhere they understand it. There is a mental comfort. They can touch it, they can feel it, and they feel that this capital will not erode. Also, when doctors look at investing in their practice, they look at buying a clinic property, and therefore their real estate exposure increases. But try and limit it. Do not go overboard buying 2 3 clinic properties or other properties for investment purposes. So diversify. In the age group 50 to 60 years, primarily we tell the doctors to focus on being debt free by the time you're 60 years of age. So we help them in case they want to repay off their high interest loans at regular intervals. This is also the time that we definitely want to introduce retirement calculations for them so that they are able to have an idea of when can I really slow down. Now, also you need to harness your ability to maximize your savings. What do I mean by this? Everyone does savings, right? Indians are very good savers, but I can cite a case of a doctor who was earning about 12 to 15 lakh of rupees every month. And when I asked him, so what is the amount that you invest every month? Do you do it? He said, yeah, I invest about 3 lakh rupees a month. And my immediate question to him was, why 3 lakhs? Why not 2 lakhs? Why not 5 lakhs? Where did this number come from? And he said, I don't know. It was just a number that I was comfortable with. And I therefore started investing. That's when we realized that he had the ability to save and invest more, which we did. And without even pinching him, without even affecting his lifestyle, he was able to channelize these extra savings in a very effective manner. Again, like previously said, do not take unnecessary insurance policies at this stage. And lastly, again, very important, you need to start thinking about making a will. In fact, you can start making a will at any stage, because as soon as you start building assets in your name, you should have a will. But definitely at this stage, you need to think about making a will. And in the last, if you are in 60 plus age group, then obviously the focus here is to have no new debt. We also want our doctors to work because they want to, not because they have to. And while we do these retirement calculations, we also want to talk to them about options to slow down. I mean, they don't have to always sell their property, clinic property, or sell their hospital. They can rent it out. Someone can take over their practice, or they can get royalty by someone actually carrying forward their legacy. So there are different options, and it's a practice valuation activity which we take up for our doctors, which is a different ballgame altogether. So since we are talking about your second innings, your financial freedom, your retirement, now I have spoken to many doctors and asked them these questions. What does retirement mean to you? When you hear the word, what happens? And I'm sure all of these responses, something is going to resonate with you. I haven't thought of retirement. I'll retire maybe at 65 or 70 years. What will I do if I don't work? I will work till my hands don't shake. I love and enjoy what I'm doing. I will be in my chair. I can't imagine any other life. I don't want to be idle. Work keeps me active. I like to slow down and take up other things to do. I don't know if I can stop working. How much money is enough to slow down? Will it last me? How can I? I need to keep working to keep earning. Now, these responses are very different, doctors, from the responses that we have heard from corporate executives or business owners. The good news is that there is no retirement age for doctors. You can work well beyond the normal retirement age. But not so good news is that we have seen that most doctors continue working because they don't know if they can stop working or when they can stop working. So please understand, doctors, when we are talking about unchaining yourself from the chair, when we are talking about your second innings, we are not talking that you hang your boots, you don't go to your hospital, don't operate, don't see your patients, don't earn. What we are trying to say is retirement means you should have the freedom of choice. You should have the freedom to choose how much you want to work, till when you want to work. Do you want to work 6 days a week or you want to work 4 days a week? Do you want to work 12 hours a day? You want to work 8 hours a day? The idea is that your savings should last you. You should not outlive your savings. And this retirement planning, doctors, is what we say is doing what I want and when I want. So you can be retired, but you will continue working and you will earn, and that is your additional income. But even if you're not earning and you're just working because you want to, not because you have to, your life is still covered. Your lifestyle is still maintained without a worry. And that is demystifying the word retirement for doctors. Let me further demystify this with the help of an example, and you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, there was a doctor who was about 60 years of age, and I'm going to share this example with you as simply as I can. So when I spoke to him about, doctor, what is the age that you would want to slow down, take it easy? He said, okay, maybe about 65 years of age, but I'm going to work till whenever I can. That's fair. Life expectancy, we always take life expectancy as a thumb rule at 90 years, because with the medical advancements, doctors do say that that is a plausible conclusion. Now, when I asked this doctor, okay, doctor, now you tell me, suppose you're 65 and you've retired, and let's assume you have no income coming in. What is that amount that you need per month to come to you so that your lifestyle is maintained? Food, clothing, shelter, socializing, gifting, traveling, maids, everything inclusive. What is the amount you think you need? Give a buffer to it. And he said 3 lakh rupees a month and I'll be sorted. I said, all right, so have you done that? And very confidently he said, yes, I think by the time I'll be 65 years of age, I will have about 5 crore rupees as my corpus, because I've been investing for a very long time. And what I'm expecting is that my overall returns from my different investments is around 8%. So if I calculate 8% on 5 crore, 40 lakh rupees per annum, it's more than 3 lakhs a month. I don't think there's a problem. I think I'm sorted. Now, this is what he was thinking. But when we dug a little deeper to see if this calculation is correct, and prima facie it looks fine, right? So what was the reality? Now, the doctor did say that he needs 3 lakh rupees a month to come to him to have his lifestyle maintained. But what he forgot is that there is something called as inflation in our lives. What 100 rupees can buy me today, 100 rupees cannot buy me 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line. So I have to account for it. So what we realized is this 3 lakh rupees that he was mentioning, actually he had to plan for 4 lakh rupees at the time of his retirement. But he also had to plan for inflation for the next many years post his retirement, so till the age of 90. And then we realized that he doesn't need 5 crore, his need was much higher. It was 9.6 crores that he needed if he wanted to maintain his lifestyle. And all this because we forgot the demon called inflation that eats into our capital. There was another small reality that most people, and so did this doctor, miss when he was doing his retirement calculations in his head. He forgot about the tax impact. Now, when you are withdrawing money, you're withdrawing interest from your investments, there's always a taxman ready to take his due. Except PPF, everything else is taxed, all right? So he actually found out that he would have to pay 7 to 9 lakh rupees as tax if he withdrew 40 lakhs rupees per annum, which meant that his returns from his interest investment was actually only 5 to 6%, not 8%, which on the face of it is what he sees. And that's when he realized that he may have to dip into his capital if he doesn't plan better. So what happens is we see that the doctors do, and most people, they end up doing the simple calculations in our head mentally, not really giving it a thought. And that is the reason why that we see a gap in the thinking. And because of this, even after working 20, 30 years, the doctors do not achieve their retirement goal, which can be easily achieved through proper planning. Now, what is important is to understand why does this gap occur. Now, this gap occurs because there is a difference in how do doctors think about financial planning. I've known it because I've met doctors for last so many years. So when I say financial planning, all they say, oh, okay, I have money, I have surplus, I'll put it in mutual funds, I'll pick up some blue chip stocks, I have some good two, three real estate, I'll pick up gold, I have tax-free bonds, or a mix of different assets like these. So I think my planning is done, I can retire. That is not really the right way of thinking. Tell me, doctors, if I'm a patient and suppose I have a knee pain. Now, I have been guilty of doing this. I can quickly Google and find out, oh, what is the cause? What is the effect? What is it that I can do? What are the options available to me? And Google is very good at throwing a lot of options to me, right? But is that the right way of doing things? Is that information applicable to me? Is it suitable for me? Or I can go to my friendly neighborhood chemist who I know for 15, 20 years. And he will say, ye malam le lo, it has worked wonders for people. And ek hafte mein aap theek ho jaoge. Is that the right way of doing things? No, right? The right way would be to go to a doctor because only a doctor will give me a holistic approach. He'll try and understand the cause of my problem. He will tell me the dosage, the combination of medicines I need, how long I need to take it. Or more importantly, do I need medicine at all? Maybe it's just about doing some exercises or having my vitamin D dose done, and maybe that all will be sorted. So this holistic approach, when it is missing from the retirement calculations, that's when this gap occurs. Now, I will try and explain this a little more in detail. Please, doctors, I know there are doctors who are, a little younger and they may be thinking, oh, financial freedom, like she's saying, I'll probably look at 55, 60 years of age. But please bear with me. I am going to try and show you some numbers. You'll see a lot of figures on the screen right now, but just listen to me. Don't get bogged down by the numbers. Listen to me because I'm going to make sense of these numbers for you. It's a different way of thinking that we are bringing here. Let's say you're someone who are close to 35 years of age, or someone in the audience who's around 45 years of age, and someone who's around 55 years of age. And I'm trying to do a comparison here. Like we said earlier, let's say you want to slow down, maybe not retire, but slow down by the time you're 65 years of age. Life expectancy, 90 years, as we said earlier. And the monthly amount you require to sustain your lifestyle is kept uniform for the sake of comparison, 2 lakh rupees, and you'll be sorted till the age of 90. Now, like I said, there is inflation which comes into the picture. So I have to calculate the inflated income that the doctor at different age groups need to plan for. So that inflated income at the age of 65 comes to 11 lakh rupees, 6 lakh rupees per month, and 3 lakh rupees. The numbers look very big, but for example, for a person who is in 35, he has to account for inflation, not for the next 30 years, but also 25 years beyond that. So next 50 to 55 years, and so on and so forth. So to achieve this, what is the corpus that they have to build up, and they can build up? Now, the retirement corpus which is required is 24 crores, 14 crores, and 8 crores. The numbers look so big and daunting, right? But trust me, these can be achieved by doing small steps. So if you have investments of around 88,000 per month, if you are at a younger age group, you can accumulate 24 crore of corpus. Now the doctors argue that, boss, at 35 years of age, I don't even earn 88,000. I may be able to save only about 40 or 35 or 30,000 rupees. Never mind. You will still be able to build a corpus of 10 to 12 crores in that case, which is a good enough amount. Maybe it may happen, you may decide, okay, it's too much, I have too much of obligations, I can't save right now. So you decide that only when I am 40, 45, I'll try saving for this. Then you see that your requirement per month to be invested to achieve your corpus doubles up to 1.6 lakh rupees. Yeah, and the corpus that you can create is 10 crores lesser. It is around 14 crore rupees. And if we delay further, then the amount you have to invest increases to 3.5 lakh rupees. But the corpus that you can create comes down to only 8 crore rupees. That, doctor, what I'm trying to imply here is that there is a cost of delaying. Now, I know why this delay happens, because we've met doctors at 55 and they say we have so many expenses, family expenses, obligations. I can't keep aside 3.5 lakh only for retirement kitty. Understand that? Or we have doctors who are 35, 40 who say, I can probably save just 10, 15,000 rupees. What's the point saving so much? It's okay, I'll not save it. I understand that as well. But remember that every delay, every penny that you do not invest, there is a possibility that you're reducing your corpus by almost 40%. So as you delay, because your money needs time for your money to grow. And when your money grows, your corpus increases. Now, I will also try and explain why this cost of delay results in your corpus going lower. This is because of something we all have learned in our school, compound interest, right? But we don't know how it is applicable in our real life. Now, let's assume any age person can definitely invest 25,000 rupees per month. All right. Let's see how that pans out. Suppose I invest 25,000 rupees per month. If I see the first 10 years I have stayed invested, I will say, oh no, I've only made 48 or 50 lakhs out of this 25,000 invest. What's the point? But then you bear on, and then you see in the next 10 years, the amount actually has tripled from 48 lakhs, it's become 1.7 CR. But the major effect happens after the 20th year. Where from 1.7, the corpus shoots to 5 CR. This is where you actually see the power of compounding, which basically means that your money needs time to stay invested so that the compounding interest works on it. So the point or the key takeaway from here, doctors, is that start early or start small with whatever amount you can, but give your money time, stay invested, and this power of compounding, you will see it happening for you. And for a small amount like 10, 15,000, you can always do it. Now, having covered the concept, the three important concepts, tax impact, inflation, and the cost of delay in your retirement planning, let's come to the point which doctors always ask us. Okay, I've understood this, but where should I invest? There are baskets of investment products available in the market. There's so much commercialization happening. There are so many shares you can pick up. There are 15,000 mutual fund schemes. There are fixed deposits. There are so many insurance policies. There are gold schemes doing the rounds. There are RBI bonds. There are tax-free bonds. There's PPF, which most doctors I see do not really look at. There is National Pension Scheme, which again, most doctors are not aware of. So there are several options. And they're always asked, so what should I do? Maybe I should just put all my eggs in different baskets and I'll be fine. But like I said earlier, just having medicines does not make me, solve my health problem. So the thing is that just having investment, a bouquet of investments is not planning. So what I'm going to explain now, I think the doctors are going to understand because it's a process that you people follow in your professional life. So when I as a patient come to you, doctors, what do you do? Do you just give me a medicine straight away and say, okay, this is a Cipla medicine, this is a Ranbaxy medicine, you'll be fine? No. You first try and understand my problem, what are my allergies, my age, etc. Then you may maybe ask me to run some tests. You may do some initial checking. And then finally, after you've done your diagnosis, you will prescribe a treatment. Now, this treatment may differ from patient to patient. One size doesn't fit all. Similarly, when we are talking about financial planning, just like we talk about our health planning, first is important to understand what do you need the money for? When do you need the money? When do you want to retire? You may not practically retire, but when do you think you want to slow down? The next step is to do a financial fitness checkup, which basically means try and understand What have you done till now? What's the patient's history? So have you invested in stocks? How much have you invested in stocks? Have you invested in PPF? How much have you invested in PPF? What are your savings? What are your expenses? How is your income going to be impacted, etc.? So after understanding the entire situation, then we make a retirement plan, an investment plan, and arrive at the right investment mix for our doctors. Now, just like one medicine will not be suitable for all patients, similarly, one investment plan cannot be copied from each doctor to the other doctor. Every doctor will have a separate investment plan based on his age, his financial needs, his financial life situation, and his general life situation. So this is pretty much like a checklist. I think again, you guys will understand the concept of checklist. When you enter an operation theater, you always have a checklist, tick, 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 hygiene factors taken care of. Why? Because you just want less surprises in that operation theater. Similarly, what is important is to use this checklist. What is my time horizon and my goals? What is my risk appetite? Now, this is very important, doctors, because we have seen that doctors take a lot of risk in their practical life, in their professional life. But when it comes to their money, a lot of doctors we see do not want to take risks. They are very conservative initially. And after keeping all this in mind, you have to decide what is the right basket of products, investment products you need. This is pretty much like having a healthy diet. How you tell us that a healthy diet is required for a healthy body. Similarly, for a healthy financial plan, a healthy retirement plan, it is important to have a balanced mix depending on your age, your life situation, and your financial needs. Now, I am going to explain this, doctors, with the help of a real life case study in just a bit. So stay with this thought. But basically, this is how your retirement planning steps need to be taken. Now, although we know that this is a process we need to follow, and I've just told you about that, and there is a checklist that we need to follow. After having met more than 2,000 to 3,000 doctors, we've realized that there are some common trends, some common mistakes. I call them mistakes, you can call them learnings, that we have seen doctors make in planning their finances. And I might be reiterating some points here, forgive me for that, but it's very important. The reason why these mistakes happen is, one, doctors just don't have the time. They are cut off from numbers. Even in their education years, the numbers really don't make sense to them. And therefore, they quickly depend upon someone they trust, a relative or a banker or a friend or an agent who has some financial knowledge to help them simplify this process. And because of this, what happens is that anyone who has some knowledge becomes an advisor in their mind, and they start taking tips from them. And they think financial planning is just about having a surplus and making investments. I'll be sorted, like I just said earlier. We've seen doctors also go overboard buying properties because that's what they understand, or they have many, many insurance policies, or they keep a lot of money in fixed deposits. So these are the mistakes that happen, which should be avoided if you follow the plan, process, product, and the checklist for your retirement planning. So let's see the example that I was talking to you about. Now, this is a real life situation of a doctor. His age was around 61 years of age when I met him. He was an orthopedic doctor. And I asked him, "Oh, doctor, have you planned for your slowing down?" And he said, "Yes, yes, I have given it a thought." And I was surprised. It's most doctors who gave me a yes. I said, "All right." So, he shared his information with me. We did a financial fitness check. And he said, "I have mutual funds close to 50 lakhs. I have stocks which are close to 1 crore. I have money kept in fixed deposits. I have insurance which covers me to 50 lakhs. And I also have a real estate property close to 1.5 CR worth." So I have put my money in different buckets, and my eggs are in different baskets. So I think I'm sorted. This comes to around 5.5 crores. I don't think I need any help with this. Something similar that we heard earlier as well. Now let's see, when I asked him, "Okay, doctor, so from 5.5 CR, what is the amount you will need per month?" He'd not thought about it. But when we spoke, he said, "Oh, all right, let's see, maybe about 2 lakh rupees a month would be good enough for me to have a comfortable life. But I also like to travel. So I would want to keep aside 5 to 6 lakh rupees for me and my. So when I did this calculation, taking inflation into account, taking tax into account, so I came up with the figure that his actual need was 6.8 CR and not 5.5 crore. And his immediate reaction was, oh, that's close. No problem. It was 5.5. This is 6.8. Oh, it can be managed. So I think it's fine. I'm glad I did this. But when we started talking more, we realized that there are certain finer points that he had missed, and that helped him to understand what he needs to do next. First is he had not taken inflation into consideration, like I said, for the next 30 years. He had no idea about his returns on his overall portfolio. So he had money put in mutual funds, in stocks, in fixed deposits. Everything was giving him different returns. But what does his full portfolio of 5.5 CR give him so that he can sustain his lifestyle and get 2 lakh rupees every year? He had no idea about that. Now the corpus was available, but how do you decide what is it that you will touch when the need arises to have the retirement income? Will you first get out of the FDs, or will you look at selling your property? Maybe the property market will be down. Or maybe if you decide to sell some shares, the market may be up and down. There might be volatility. There might be some bad news in the market. Who will take this decision? And not 5 years hence, for next 20, 30 years of your retirement. There was no thought or a plan for that. Also, he had not planned for any emergency. For him, it was 5.5 CR. Everything isi mein aa jayega. So he had money, he had investments made, but were they suitable for him? Were they as per his risk appetite, which I spoke about, the checklist? Now, he had mutual funds, but we realized that some of his mutual funds were so risky, which he didn't want to take such risks, and that could actually bring down their value. If anything would go wrong, the value could come down by 50%. He also had lots of stocks. Some of them were not even listed. He had many, many small FDs of small amounts. And he had almost 10 insurance policies. So it was a hodgepodge, a khichdi of products invested as and when he had money. No separate buckets were kept for different needs that may come up. We always say that your retirement kitty should be separate. Your medical kitty should be separate. Your travel kitty should be separate. So that if you remove money from one, it should not impact your retirement corpus. And that thought obviously does not come naturally to most of the doctors when they do their planning. And most importantly, he was heavily depending upon his real estate, 1.5 crores, in case there was any need and he had to fund any gap. But real estate is illiquid. You don't know, will you get the right price for it? Will it sell when you really want to sell? So those things he had not thought about. So net, he realized that he had missed these salient points. His need was higher, 6.8 CR. If he had kept his investments the way he had right now, all his savings would have lasted him only till the age of 78 years. This is obviously assuming he doesn't earn any extra income. So overall, on his overall portfolio, something is earning 10%, something is earning 5%. His overall portfolio was earning only about 6%. He realized that for his emergency, he needs to keep some money aside. It could be an emergency for the family, extended family, so about 20 lakh rupees. And besides his medical policy, he also needed to keep a health copy for about 25 lakh of rupees. So from, oh, I am sorted to, oh, did I miss all this? We reached that situation. And how were we able to add value to this person who actually thought he had enough? Let's take it point by point quickly. I will not dwell too much on it, but these are important value adds that get missed when you're looking at retirement planning because we just simplify it in our minds. One, contingency planning. Out of his 5.5 CR, we kept 20 lakh aside, earmarked for emergency. We earmarked 25 lakhs for his health need. In case he never needed to use this money because of no health emergency, then the money would just grow because it was invested. Most importantly, how to bridge the gap from 5.5 to 6.8 was worked out step by step. Secondly, not only deciding how to reach 6.8 crores, but also once you hit 65 and decide that you want to withdraw 2 lakhs every month, then how will the money reduce? How will the balance money continue to grow? Because he's not withdrawing at one go. He's withdrawing only 24 lakhs to 30 lakhs. So how should the balance money be invested and how should it grow? A plan for next 25, 30 years was made and documented and given to his family. There were also several leakages that were plugged because money saved is money earned. Now we realized that he was keeping a lot of money in FDs, which was his returns were really lower. By shuffling and doing some changes, keeping some in FD, keeping some in some other investments, we tried and improved his returns to be able to achieve the higher. Also, one of his insurance policies had to be surrendered. He had paid a huge fee for it. It was just 1 or 2 years old, and that money was better channelized. So, by making all these small changes, by reallocating his current investments, we tried to ensure that his returns from 6% are 9% so that he's able to also account for removing the inflated retirement income that he needed. We also realized that he does not have any SIP. He was not very comfortable doing SIPs. He thought it was an obligation for him. But we said, okay, only for the next 4 to 5 years, let's keep aside 3 lakh of rupees, which he could easily do without affecting his lifestyle. And would you believe it? That 3 lakh rupees could build close to 1.5 to 2 crore for him in 5 to 6 years. We also consolidated the portfolio for him. See, at the age of 60, 65, what you need is to keep things simple. If anything happens to you, your family should not be getting into this complicated paperwork and thousands of investments to check XYZ. So we made it simple. We pruned his portfolio, making the tracking very easy. And we would meet every year to track this progress. And if there are any changes required, which will be required, we would course correct. And also very important, he had not thought of making a will, which we helped him do with the help. So this is how a retirement planning needs to be done. It's not just about I have this much, I'll put the money in different investments, I'll get 7%, I'm sorted, which is what 99% of the doctors tell us. And this is the different type of thinking that we are trying to bring to the doctors. I would like to leave you with this thought, doctors. Retirement planning means financial freedom. You're not hanging your boots. You will continue to work, you'll continue to earn, but you will have the freedom to choose till when do you want to work, how much you want to work, so that even if there is no income, you are taken care of, your family is taken care of. So the question that you need to ask yourself after listening to this is, are you working out of choice? Or are you working because you think you may have no choice? So the journey of your retirement planning of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So the time is to start now, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you can do 10,000, whether you can do 50,000 or 3 lakh. The important thing is to start. Now, these are various services that we have for our doctors. We do goal-based financial planning, which includes their retirement planning. Like I said, shuffling and reshuffling, restructuring if required of your investments, understanding your risks, understanding if your insurances have covered you properly. A very holistic goal-based planning is done and continuously reviewed. We also help you in succession planning, making a will, getting all your nominees, etc. in place, and also help in practice valuation. Also, we help doctors where I said, to be debt free. So how do you manage your debt? How do you restructure your loans? If you want to buy equipment, you want to go for expansion, working out the numbers for you, doing quantitative analysis in case you're looking for a property to sell it or buy it, whatever is better for you. And also many other value-added services where we coordinate with all the other people who may have been helping you. Whether it's your CA, whether you're insurance agent, etc. Documentation is also a very important service so that everything is put in one place and you don't have to search in different drawers to find out where is my mutual fund papers, where's my stock papers, where are my income papers, etc. note down financial helpline that we have created for doctors. Mr. Mehul Shah, he's also a financial coach with us. Please note down his number and his email ID in case you want to know more about retirement planning and you want to have a calculation done for you. You can call Mehul or you can visit us at www.myfinapp.com. And Doctor, now we will start the question and answer session. But before that, quickly, I would want to run a poll for you. Please look at the questions that I am going to put on the screen and reply to this. So we'll be able to understand. So we'll be able to understand what help you may need. Please take some time out to reply to these polls. They are multiple choice questions. I'll wait for some time. Think about it. Is it retirement planning? Is it overall financial planning? I'll be ending my poll now. I hope everyone who wanted to answer has answered. I think we are free to take now the question and answers. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chanda.
Yeah.
Firstly, I want to thank all the. Yeah, I think every time I hear it, I could actually relate to the journey or the conversations, probably that I had with so many doctors. Yeah. Okay. Firstly, I want to thank all the doctors who have taken out time to be a part of this session. Thank you so much. And I would request, doctors, if you have any question, please put it down in the question and answer section and I'll answer them. I've got few of them while doctors were registering, which I'll take it right now. And the others, we will take it as and when we find it in the question and answer. So first question is, how can one calculate his or her retirement corpus? I think Chanda has beautifully explained, and I think we have tried our level best to simplify and explain it to you. How is it done? So the first step is you have to think as to what is the kind of withdrawals that you would want to do per month and what is that age when you want to slow down. And then it's a financial calculation that is involved in it. I think, Chanda, we will connect with this doctor and we will help this doctor in figuring out what is the retirement corpus that needs to be created for him as such. The second one is how to generate passive income, which are tax friendly in nature. Actually, very good question. So passive income can be your rental incomes that are there. It can be the debt instrument, the payments from the debt instruments that you have. Now, if I compare the tax friendly angle of it, then I would say the rental income you pay around, close to whatever your tax bracket is. If you're in the higher tax bracket, you pay that much. That much is getting deducted from your, whatever rents that you're getting. Whereas in the debt products, that is the debt mutual funds that you have, you will have the indexation benefit that will come to you. So I would say that no doubt passive income, we can consider the rental incomes, one of the options which I've seen most of the doctors have it, but they're not tax friendly in nature. Yeah. Then the next one, I would say, between the portfolio management services and mutual fund, what are the differences and what is better for a doctor? Okay, so what is better for you will always depend upon your goals and your risk appetite. I will come to the difference between the PMS and the mutual fund. One of the, see, both of them invest in the market. Okay, so that is the common thing between both of them. In terms of the major differences, is that PMS is I would talk about the key differentiating factors. The PMS is a very concentrated kind of a portfolio. It would invest in limited number of stocks, whereas in mutual fund you can always choose a mutual fund which invest in probably close to 70, 80 or 90 kind of a stock. So your risk is getting diversified. One of the most important differentiation is that mutual fund is extremely transparent. You can go online, you can check the details, you know who's the fund manager, when did it start, what is the return, when was it from the date of inception, which are the current portfolios that you have in the mutual fund, whereas in PMS you don't have access to it. So you're completely dependent on the PMS fund manager, whoever is taking care of it. So I would say if you are starting your investment, the first thing is do an SIP, go through the mutual fund route and seek the benefit of the power of compounding as such. Um, yeah, then I would say an interesting question. Would you be teaching us about trading, or are you going to be there a broker only? I would say we are your financial coach. uh, we are not the chemists like what Chanda explained in the example. We are like your specialist doctor to whom you go, and we will help you understand exactly what you should be doing based on your entire situation. Because I think nowadays the financial planning and the products are very much simplified, but it's not so simple the way it is, looks like, So I would say, doctor, whoever has mentioned this question, trading is not too healthy. It's a complete profession altogether, and most of the time people lose more money in trading than gaining out of it. So if you're starting, go through a very systematic process of understanding what are your financial needs, what is your risk appetite. Have your financial coach or your expert be with you, who's there to guide you, because personal finance is more personal to it. And I think that's why, Chanda, like there are so many CAs who are our clients, and there are so many companies, CFOs who are our client, and they've always said, and when I asked them, why did you choose us? You could have done it all by yourself, and everything is at the, click of the button for you. He said, personal finance is very personal for me. I can have my own biases, which will come into the play. And I don't want that to, ruin my entire financial planning that I have done for myself. So, doctor, for you, I would say it's better to avoid the trading part of it. Yeah. Yeah. Another one, how to become a millionaire. I would say how to become a billionaire. Yeah. So start early in life. Start early in life. Get the power of compounding. Most of the doctors, whenever I have met them, they have said that, okay, I will start probably when my EMIs are little less, or I'll start when probably I have close to 1 lakh to invest. I think 50,000 is a very small amount that I should start as an SIP. Or they are waiting for a particular event in life to happen. Like right now, when I'm talking to my doctors, like few of the doctors who initially wanted to start the process of financial planning, and when I'm calling them, they are saying that, right now there is COVID. I think, Meena, we should wait for some time. I said, see, when you are planning for your finances, the COVID doesn't really, this is the time. This is the time when you have to reflect on your entire situation. It's a time when you need to course correct, take the right kind of, actions as such. So if you want to be a millionaire, I would say a billionaire, it starts with being very disciplined, stay invested for a long period of time, start saving at least minimum 30% to your net take home. Even if you start by 5%, 10%, what we have seen, when you start, you keep upping the savings year on year. When you're focused towards your entire financial planning, it automatically happens for you. Yeah. So I think whatever questions that came during the registrations, I have covered it up, Chanda. Let me see which are the other ones that are there. Where is one? Is there a okay? Okay, 1 second. can I get a recording of this webinar to share with my friends? Okay, someone said that, can I get a recording of this webinar to share with my friends? Definitely, you can share that. Dr. Dilip Devasili, I will come back to your question. I think I would need to have a one-to-one conversation with you to handle that. Okay. So impact of tax regulations, particularly changing ones, I think the best thing is that to understand, it's very important to understand for each and every instrument that you have invested in the market, what are the kind of post-tax returns that you're generating on them. So like how Chanda said, that we all have, loads of products in our basket. We have this, we have that, and everything together, ultimately when you calculate what is your post-tax return, you have to sit with your advisor who will tell you, okay, for this is what is the pre-tax and this is the post-tax, because this is what the taxation that will be involved in it. So that's the way how we can tackle it. And Dr. Dilip Devasili, what I will do, we can even connect with you and we can help you out for your current investments that you have. Okay, I think okay, Dr. Kumar Swami question, I'll probably I'll take it one-to-one. Otherwise, I think, Chanda, we have covered most of the questions.
Everything. All right.
Yeah, most of
Great.
it that is there has been just covered, I think. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for taking out time.
For taking out the time.
But thank you so much and a very good evening. Yeah.
And happy Independence Day.
Yeah, happy Independence Day.
Bye.
And happy financial freedom also, like whenever you're planning. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.